Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Relationships. The worst piece of advice anybody could give you in a relationship is hide who you truly are. You shouldn't do that, particularly with your fiance. We'll talk about that in a bit. But before we begin, don't forget about Lost Genre AITA Daily, a channel dedicated exclusively to Am I the A-hole? Now let's get started with the first story. This one's from user throwaway01298. My dad wants me to start going on dates with his clients' sons. I, 16 female, am reliant on my parents for everything until I graduate 6th form in summer 2022. Then, in autumn 2022, I should be going away to university and able to go no contact, or at the very least, I should be able to set boundaries, as the university I'm planning on attending is on the other side of the country. I do have a job and savings, but I'm unable to move out or stay with relatives due to my age. I have been banned from sleepovers ever since I got a boyfriend last December. Dad has met my boyfriend and hates him. His reasoning is that my boyfriend is working class and dad works in one of the snobbiest professions possible, and from a young age has tried to instill into me and my siblings, 14 male, 21 female, 24 male, and 26 female, the importance of presenting ourselves in a way that shows we're upper middle class. Dad's actually working class born himself, so there's a lot to unpack there. Anyway, Dad has now told me that as things are going back to normal, his workplace, which he is one of the main bosses at, will soon start hosting events. And at these events, there will be clients they need to convince to give them money, and with those clients will be their teenage sons. Dad wants me to start coming with him and entertaining the sons while the parents talk. I asked what that would entail, and he said talking, eating, and dancing with them. I told him honestly that I can't think of anything worse and reminded him that I have a boyfriend. He said he's not asking me to marry them, just to go on dates. I pointed out how dumb that sounded, and he said not to argue, and I'm doing this and that's final. I asked Mom for help, but she just laughed me off. Said not to make a big fuss of it, and said she's been attending these things as Dad's date for years, and said she met Dad when her own father brought her to a work event and joked that maybe I'd meet my future husband at one of Dad's events. I then spoke to my siblings, and 26 females said the exact same thing as Mom, that she met her husband at one of these things and I should just go with it, while 21 females said that it's better to just do it and she knows from experience that if I refuse, I'll go on punishment, but if I agree, then Dad will probably give me money, and admitted that she is still doing this for extra cash. The only one who seems to object is 24 male, but even he only objected for about 5 minutes with me. Then he spoke to Dad and called me back saying that Dad had said that if I just do it, then he'll pay me, but if I refuse, then I go on punishment. So 24 male feels I should just do it. I then told my boyfriend, who said that if I agree to this, he's not sure he can be with me. What do? I don't want to go on punishment, but this sounds humiliating at best and dangerous at worst, and basically spells the end of my relationship. Okay, so before doing any kind of commentary, because let's be honest, the way OP wrote this initial post, this whole situation sounds really weird. So we're gonna move on to the update that's gonna help clear things up and also tell us how this story ends. So let's continue with that now. I talked to Dad. I had a whole speech planned using a bunch of comments as inspiration, but I forgot what I was going to say, so I just burst out with, "I'm not shagging any of those guys." His response was, "Jesus effing Christ." And then he said, "That's what you thought?" And then, no, a bunch of times, and was very clearly disgusted. I just sort of said, "Well, you are offering a lot of money for me to interact with them." And he said he knew I didn't want to do this, so he thought the money would smooth it over. He was really disturbed at the very idea of what I thought he was saying. He then apologized. He said he shouldn't have threatened punishment because that's meant to be saved for extreme situations. However, my boyfriend and my dad had a conversation, during which my boyfriend had stated his intentions in such a way that it caused Dad to freak out, and as a result, he got way more intense about these dates than he had planned to, in the hopes that I'd go to one of these events and meet a guy Dad can actually tolerate. He had planned to suggest the dates to me, but not to make them compulsory. I asked what exactly he said, and Dad said I should ask him myself. I messaged my boyfriend, who described how he'd squared up to my dad in a way that was just so badly handled. He went all tough guy on my dad and flat out said, "I don't give a crap if you don't like me because your daughter does." Said he was going to marry me someday, so you'd better get used to me now. And even told my dad that I'd already said yes to a proposal and had chosen to not tell Dad about it. This was news to me as I have no plan to marry him. I met him less than a year ago and we're 16 for F's sake. Boyfriend then went on to say that he meant every word, and I said that I don't want that and he shouldn't have done what he did. He didn't reply for a full day, and then this morning I woke up to a bunch of texts from him, all calling me some really mean names and saying some very mean things that I can't put here due to the sub-rules against derogatory language. He's now my ex-boyfriend. Dad apologized again, and I initially had planned to make a counteroffer where I would go on these dates, but there'd be rules to keep everything above board. However, Dad said that given my initial reaction, he is taking the whole thing off the table and has apologized again for how he acted and the threat he made. He has said that if in the future I want to go to these events, I can, but he was wrong to try and force me to go on the dates. And he won't bring it up again. And if I want to earn some extra cash, then he'll find something else for me to do, like a placement at his work. The reason he pushed so hard was that as far as he knew, I had already accepted a proposal, and he figured that if he told me not to marry my boyfriend, it would only make me want to do it more. So the only idea he could come up with was pushing me to meet more guys my age by going as their dates to these events. It's still not an ideal situation, but it's nice to know he's on my side for this. I think, on the whole, for this particular set of circumstances, things have turned out as well as they could have. Sorry if I freaked anyone out on the last post, but it looks like they were a bunch of miscommunications and outright lies that led to things looking way worse than they actually were. Okay, well, it turns out it was just all about one dad freaking out his 16-year-old girl was apparently engaged to some kid that he didn't like. I do have to say, the way that boyfriend or ex-boyfriend handled meeting the dad, if life could smack you upside the head when you're doing something stupid, I think it would have happened for this boyfriend at that moment. But that's just my opinion. Now let's move on to the next story. This one's from user ThrowArray89891. My fiance told me he is tired of hiding who he is from me, and now I'm not sure I want to get married. My fiance, 26 male, and I, 25 female, have been dating for 3 years. We've known each other for 8 years and just got engaged a year ago. We are also long distance since he is military, so we only see each other for maybe 4 to 5 days a month, with the exception of summers when I move wherever he is to stay with him for a month or two. So throughout the last 3 years of the relationship, it became very evident that my fiance, let's call him Dave, held some pretty serious prejudices. Examples. He passionately dislikes fat people and would consistently insult strangers and make disparaging jokes about fat people. He prided himself on being an imperialist, proudly called himself a sexist, and didn't talk to women unless it was for relationship purposes, and said my brother might be treated differently by police because he looks threatening. My brother and I are black, Dave is white. Anyway, I addressed all of these things whenever they came up, and we had multiple conversations in which he decided it was wrong to hold these beliefs. However, after addressing them, he would get extremely upset if I called him out on saying anything slightly prejudicial throughout the relationship because he would say he doesn't hold those beliefs anymore. Last month, we got into a pretty big argument about why systemic racism is bad. He said it makes the US look bad and it weakens our foreign influence, so therefore it is bad. Whereas I am of mind that it is bad because black people, including myself, are human beings and deserve to be treated with an equal amount of dignity, respect, and general decentness. This argument escalated and he started going on a rant of how tired he is of stepping over eggshells around me and how he can never find the right words to make me happy and that he is tired of hiding who he is around me. This was very shocking and I tried to probe more on what he was hiding, and basically he revealed that all of the prejudices I thought he had gotten over, he still had, and was just trying to suppress them around me. He mentioned one of the things he's tired of hiding is that he still strongly dislikes fat people and doesn't see a problem with that. But I've suspected this has been the cause of a lot of his behavior, such as 1. Asking me how much I've eaten every day and what time I ate, don't eat after 8 p.m. 2. Telling me to drink water all the time. 3. Insulting my friends for gaining weight. 4. Telling his own mother not to eat fatty foods. 5. Asking why some people in my family were fat. And 6. Telling me he doesn't want to get me pregnant because he wants me to be skinny longer. Countless other little things here and there, but whenever I said, "Do you have a problem with fat people still?" he would get defensive and pretend I was imagining it. Again, we're long distance, so I suppose I don't get to see the person he is all the time, but now that he's told me, I feel like I can't trust him and he's sucking up because he knows I don't want to do this anymore because it feels like a lie. So we are seeing a friend of his for marriage counseling. I put it in quotes because the guy is not qualified and talks to Dave outside of sessions all the time, and even brought his own wife to a session. And now Dave says he's ready to change and leave these prejudices behind, really this time. I've lost trust and honestly have not felt the same about our relationship since that day. Although he's saying he'll change this time, I'm not sure if he means it or is just trying to placate me into staying in the relationship, then reverting back whenever he feels like he has me. Plus, I believe these prejudices stem from a lack of empathy and insecurity that reflect in other areas, like the way he reacted to the lockdown. Completely ignored all the rules and felt like he could get me sick too because I'm young, even though I told him I don't want to get sick. I also reminded him that I'm high risk because I have asthma, to which he said, I forgot you're unhealthy. He's consistently put me down for my genes and even explicitly said my genes are superior to yours. Anyways, he said what I wanted to hear in order to make me feel safe enough to move down for the summer, and when I got there in late March, he didn't want to take any precautions that we had previously discussed. Examples: wearing a mask, I'm not a face mask kind of guy, or having hand sanitizer in the car, and actually argued with me when I insisted and was condescending, calling me mom and rolling his eyes. Oh man, OP, your boyfriend sounds like a tool. I have to say though, I feel like you checked out in the last 3 paragraphs. You were like, I'm out of here, and those last 3 paragraphs is your way of saying, I'm out. There's your answer if you're looking for what should you do. You get out of that relationship, and it sounds like you already did. In any case, we have an update from OP which will tell us exactly what she did. So let's go ahead with the update. Firstly, thank you everyone for your input. The run comment was pretty brutal, but effective. I broke off the engagement 3 days ago via phone call. I haven't figured out how I will return the ring, but thinking by insured mail? The call itself wasn't horrible because I think he was in shock, but a couple of highlights from the call. I might have lied, fine, but you're a liar too. You lied about loving me. Not trying to guilt you, but you've destroyed me. I have nothing now and have no idea what I'm going to do with myself. Are you seeing someone else? You're making a huge mistake. All I wanted was to be a good husband to you. 2 times. These comments were hard to hear because my worst fear is that I preemptively cut off a relationship with a man who is going through active change and who loves me dearly. But at the end of the day, I realized I don't trust that he will change genuinely, and I have no idea how to measure that progress since he has proved to hide parts of himself around me. He hasn't tried to contact me since I broke things off, and I'm grateful for that. I think it would make everything so much worse. I am grieving such an immense loss, which is hard to communicate because others see it as a win by leaving an unhealthy relationship. Again, thanks everyone for the advice. He broke your trust, he lied to you, he tried to emotionally handle something he doesn't like without working through it. So, yeah, even if he's doing the work now, he already lost your confidence, and that's something that's incredibly difficult to regain. So now you just need to focus on yourself, on putting yourself back together and moving forward. And of course, congratulations on taking that step of ending the relationship, which is the most difficult part. Now you can focus on yourself. And so we've reached the end of the video. I truly hope you guys liked it. If you did, just go ahead and click like, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, don't forget to check out my new channel, the link's in the description. And finally, go ahead and visit the Lost Genres subreddit where you can share your own stories or cross-post stories from other subs. And having said all of that, I will see you guys in the next video.